Good evening. Tonight, the world stands at a moment of extraordinary tension. Across continents and oceans, major geopolitical events are unfolding at a rapid pace. Explosions are echoing across parts of the Middle East. Missiles and drones are crossing borders. Political leaders are holding emergency meetings. Global oil markets are reacting with volatility. And millions of people across the world are watching the news with deep concern. What we are witnessing is not just another series of international headlines. These developments could shape the future of global politics, economics, and security for years to come. The conflict involving Iran, the United States, and Israel continues to escalate. At the same time, the war between Russia and Ukraine remains one of the most serious military conflicts in modern Europe. Meanwhile, protests have been reported in several countries, including Pakistan. Governments across Asia, Europe, and the Middle East are carefully assessing the rapidly changing situation. Financial markets are reacting, energy prices are fluctuating, and international diplomats are working urgently to prevent further escalation. Welcome to tonight's Global News Special Report. We will examine the most important developments happening around the world and what they could mean for the future. Stay with us, because in the next few minutes, we will take a deeper look at the events that are shaping our world right now. Middle East crisis escalates. The Middle East has once again become the center of global attention. For decades, the region has been one of the most strategically sensitive areas on the planet, but over the past several days, tensions have increased dramatically. According to multiple international reports, military operations involving the United States and its allies have targeted several locations believed to be connected with Iranian military infrastructure. These operations reportedly included airstrikes against facilities suspected of storing weapons and military equipment. U.S. officials described the operations as defensive actions intended to protect regional stability. However, Iranian officials strongly rejected that description. Iranian leaders said the attacks represented a direct violation of sovereignty. Shortly after the strikes were reported, Iranian military officials announced that their country would respond. And soon after that announcement, reports began to emerge of missile and drone attacks directed at locations associated with American interests in the region. Some of these attacks reportedly targeted military installations. Others were aimed at infrastructure facilities. At this time, the full extent of the damage remains unclear. However, analysts believe the situation has entered a new and potentially dangerous phase. Military experts say that any miscalculation at this stage could trigger a wider regional conflict. Such a conflict could involve several countries across the Middle East, and that possibility has raised alarm among international diplomats. The United Nations has called for restraint from all sides. Several global leaders have urged dialogue and de-escalation. But as of now, tensions remain extremely high. Oil markets react to rising tensions. One of the immediate consequences of the growing crisis is being seen in global energy markets. Oil prices have begun to rise significantly. Energy analysts say the increase is directly linked to fears about instability in the Middle East. The region is responsible for a significant portion of the world's oil production. Many of the most important oil transportation routes also pass through Middle Eastern waters. If conflict were to disrupt these routes, the global energy supply could be affected almost immediately. Traders in international markets are therefore closely monitoring every development. As tensions increased, oil prices surged in global trading. For consumers around the world, rising oil prices can have serious consequences. Higher fuel costs can increase transportation expenses. Electricity prices may rise, and inflation could accelerate. Economists warn that if energy prices continue to climb, the global economy could face renewed financial pressure. For developing countries already dealing with economic challenges, the situation could become particularly difficult. Governments in several countries are now considering measures to protect their economies from energy shocks. Public reactions in Pakistan. The developments in the Middle East have also triggered strong reactions in several countries. In Pakistan, demonstrations have been reported in multiple major cities. Large groups of citizens gathered in public areas to express their views about the ongoing crisis. Many protesters voiced opposition to military actions against Iran. Others called for diplomatic solutions and peace in the region. In some locations, demonstrations remained peaceful. Participants carried banners and delivered speeches calling for international dialogue. However, in certain areas, tensions briefly increased between protesters and security personnel. Authorities responded by deploying additional police units. Security around diplomatic buildings and important government facilities was also strengthened. Officials emphasized that maintaining public order was a priority. Government representatives urged citizens to remain calm and avoid actions that could escalate tensions. Political analysts note that developments in the Middle East often generate strong reactions in Pakistan due to historical, cultural, and religious ties with the region. For now, authorities say the situation remains under control, but they continue to monitor events closely. India watches the situation carefully. India is also paying very close attention to the rapidly evolving situation in the Middle East. For India, the region plays a crucial role in energy security. A large percentage of India's oil imports come from Middle Eastern countries. Any disruption in the region could therefore have a direct impact on India's economy. Indian officials have emphasized the importance of diplomacy and restraint. Government representatives have called on all parties involved in the crisis to avoid escalation. At the same time, Indian strategic analysts are examining the broader geopolitical implications of the crisis. Some experts believe prolonged instability in the Middle East could reshape global alliances. It could also influence trade patterns and diplomatic relationships. India, like many other major economies, must carefully balance international diplomacy with domestic economic concerns. As a result, policymakers in New Delhi are closely following developments. Russia-Ukraine war continues. While global attention is currently focused on the Middle East, another major conflict continues in Eastern Europe. The war between Russia and Ukraine has now been ongoing for several years. Despite numerous international calls for peace, the conflict remains unresolved. Recent reports indicate that missile and drone attacks have intensified in several Ukrainian regions. Air defense systems have been activated in multiple cities. Residents have once again been forced to take shelter as warning sirens sounded across urban areas. The humanitarian impact of the war continues to be severe. Thousands of families have been displaced from their homes. Critical infrastructure has been damaged. Hospitals, schools, and residential areas have been affected by the conflict. International organizations continue to provide humanitarian assistance. However, the scale of the crisis remains enormous. Diplomatic negotiations have been attempted several times, but so far, there are no clear signs that a lasting peace agreement is close. Military analysts warn that prolonged conflict in Eastern Europe could continue to affect global security for years. Global economic concerns. As multiple geopolitical crises unfold simultaneously, economists are becoming increasingly concerned about global financial stability. Markets around the world are reacting to the uncertainty. Stock markets have experienced fluctuations. Energy prices are rising. Investors are becoming more cautious. For businesses and governments alike, uncertainty can create significant challenges. Supply chains may be disrupted. Trade routes could become less predictable, and inflation pressures may increase. Central banks in several countries are monitoring the situation closely. Economic policymakers are preparing contingency plans in case global markets experience additional shocks. The coming months may prove critical for the global economy. The importance of diplomacy. Despite the rising tensions, many international leaders continue to emphasize the importance of diplomacy. Diplomatic negotiations remain the most effective way to prevent further escalation. History has shown that military conflicts often produce devastating humanitarian consequences. For that reason, global institutions are encouraging dialogue between all parties involved. The United Nations, regional organizations, and independent mediators are attempting to facilitate communication. Whether those efforts will succeed remains uncertain, but many experts agree that diplomatic engagement is essential. Global outlook. Taken together, today's developments illustrate how interconnected the modern world has become. A crisis in one region can quickly influence economic and political conditions across the globe. Conflicts in the Middle East affect energy markets. Wars in Europe impact international security. Political reactions in Asia reflect global diplomatic dynamics. And financial markets respond instantly to every new development. For governments, businesses, and ordinary citizens alike, understanding these global connections has become increasingly important. The coming weeks will likely be critical. Diplomatic decisions, military actions, and economic policies could all shape the direction of events. As the world watches these unfolding developments, one thing remains clear. We are living in a time of significant global change. International tensions are rising, economic uncertainty is growing, and political decisions made today may shape the future for generations. That is why staying informed has never been more important. Thank you for watching tonight's Global News Special Report. I am Olivia Carter. Stay informed, stay aware, and stay connected with us for the latest updates from around the world. If you want clear, powerful, and reliable global news coverage, make sure to subscribe to our channel because the world is changing rapidly. And we are here to keep you informed every step of the way. Good night.